Hey everybody, it's Alec, your friendly neighborhood physical therapist, and today I want to talk to you guys about masks. So, what we're talking about today is the current recommendations on why people want to be wearing masks and how it's going to be helpful for everyone around them. One of the common misconceptions is that this thing on my face is going to protect me from infecting someone else. Admittedly, specifically this one is not going to do all that much. It's a very thin fabric and is not going to provide all that much protection. However, a lot of the masks that I have here with me today actually should. One of the ones I'm going to bring out right away is one of the ones that you're probably going to see a lot of healthcare providers wearing. This is known as a KN95 mask. This one would normally fit around my ears, except I'm wearing this silly thing over my face right now. The KN95 is a downgrade from the standard N95, which is what OSHA recommends that healthcare providers wear in cases like right now. It is an extremely high filtering mask that actually seals perfectly around the edges in order to make sure that anything goes through the filter itself. Masks that don't provide that perfect seal, very simply, are going to allow some things to come in and around them. So in an environment that is extremely high risk, like a hospital where you have a lot of different possible patients who might be coming in, that type of mask where we have that perfect seal where almost everything has to pass through the mask is our absolute ideal. Because that means that any water droplets suspended in the air that may have some potential virus in them are going to hit that and hopefully be completely stopped. Now, the particles themselves that make up the virus are small enough to technically pass through even an N95. However, because of the extremely tight mesh and the fact that most of these particles are carried in the water droplets themselves, for most people that is actually going to be perfectly protective and give the majority of our healthcare providers all the safety they need. The KN95s that you'll see me and my colleagues wearing for people who are in non-emergency situations, people who are less likely to encounter things, don't have quite as great a seal, which means they're not as effective, but do provide about the same level of filtration. So for people like us ourselves who are seeing people more often throughout the day, a medical grade mask like that or a surgical mask is going to provide a better quality filter. However, for the majority of people, the reason we wear a mask is not to protect ourselves, but to make sure that in the case that we are asymptomatic and we have not yet developed symptoms of a possible infection, because it's almost impossible to know you have this until you start to develop symptoms, but days prior you could be spreading it, is to make sure that you are not actively spreading things around. Now, some of the data has changed on this since we first came out, because what the scientists were originally looking at is if I take the pure particle and spray it at a mask, does things get to the other side? So for example, if we take this imaginary piece of paper right here, and then we put another piece of receiver on the other side, and I just spray pure particles at one side, obviously those small particles are going to get through. And this is what was causing a lot of worry about masks, because if the particles can get through, is it really doing any good? Well, because a majority of those particles are actually contained, like we said, within water droplets within our respiration, anything that keeps the water droplets in proximity to our face is keeping us from spreading. So even layers of cloth actually do tend to provide a little bit of something here. As a matter of fact, my mask right now, these eye pieces are starting to fog up, which means as I'm talking, a lot of the moisture is still being contained within even this very silly mask I'm wearing right now. On the other hand, if I have something that's a little bit better grade, like maybe a sport filter, or a mask that's been designed with multiple layers to it, like this one right here, this is what I tend to wear when I'm out and about. It has multiple layers that allow some filtration coming in. There's even an N95 grade filter on the inside that gives me a little protection from that. But what it more importantly does is when I breathe out, keeps the moisture here in proximity, which means I am less likely to accidentally spread something to other people. So this is the importance of masks. If all of us wear them in public, it means that even the people who unknowingly have something that they could accidentally spread are very unlikely to accidentally breathe it onto someone around them. And the small amount of protection that we do get from the non-medical grade masks becomes that much more amplified. We actually saw a case, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, of about, I want to say 40 people who were exposed to 2 individuals who were known to accidentally have COVID and were contagious for a couple of days. But because of the environment everyone was exposed in, both the people who were contagious and the people we later tested to see if they got it were wearing masks. Not a single one of them came down with the case, which is exactly what we're going for. So, our big request to everybody right now is when you are going anywhere, please wear a mask. Not necessarily because you do absolutely have this, but because it's impossible to know. It's important to always assume that you should be protecting everyone if possible, and that is our goal with this. So, if you could please be a hero and make sure you're protecting those around you by not accidentally exposing them to something we don't know if we have or not. Plus, as a bonus, in many cases, the nicer masks like the one I have, the sport mask right here with the filter inside, does provide an additional modicum of protection, so I am less likely to actually get this if I'm around someone else who may accidentally be contagious as well. Thank you all for tuning in, and thank you all for being heroes.